Hey guys, welcome to Extended Readings 4. This is gonna be a rough history of small kanas. Apparently there isn't a lot to find on the internet, even in Japanese, so it took me a lot of time to do my own research and piece all the information together. So even though I'm not a scholar, this is probably gonna be the best thing you'll find on the internet to date. I start with common small kanas. The kanas for Yoon were originally written as full-size kanas. Sokuon were originally left unwritten, and later they were written first as full-size 2, then as a small 2. The 2 stands for tsumanukoi, or blocking voice. Here's a textbook published in 1876 commenting on how Sokuons are written. It says, words such as nikki used to be written as nikki, but that's hard to understand nowadays, so it's being written with a full-size or small 2. I know in the second example with full-size 2, it's only the 2 is in katakana, the other 2 characters are in hiraganas. Despite this example, most cases I found are either entirely in hiraganas or entirely in katakanas. Anyways, the process of writing these as small kanas made it much easier to read and to teach the Japanese language, I guess to kids, now that the speaking language is more in sync with the written language. Let's go back in history for a bit to examine how exactly small kanas came about. Katakanas, I'm not talking about small ones, the whole idea was originally invented as reminders for reading Chinese texts in Japanese, when China was way more technologically advanced than Japan a millennia ago. These worked like furiganas and okuriganas today, except they are often placed on the corner of a kanji. They're still taught in school today and continue to terrorize young Japanese students, by the way. I'm so glad I don't have to learn it in school. It's gonna take more than a full video to explain how these exactly works, but what's most relevant to this video is katakanas has been seen as symbols to mark things to help the reader since its conception, which is, as we will now see, is how small kanas were first used. Here's an early example of kanas used in Japanese text. The examples here are from a haiku book published in the 1830s, but similar usages reportedly go back all the way to 14th century. It developed gradually from there. In here we have 3 examples. The first one is la in hiragana, which is spelled out, which would be very weird for today's Japanese, as you understand. Then we have the small 2 in mitsu, which is similar to the now obsolete use of small 2 as a counter. And the third example is using ke for ga. It reads komaga take. Interestingly, the ke has a furigana next to it, saying ga. Different from katakanas used to help read Chinese text, these kanas are part of the text, being in a vertical line directly, but they are clearly smaller and stick to the right side, unlike regular text. As for katakanas for foreign languages, I do not have an exact date, but both the Taiwanese kanas and small kanas for Ainu language were invented late 19th century. The unicode survey, links in the description, gives a lot of examples which dates to as early as 1875 and suggests the whole thing started from about the same time, which is the Meiji era. I guess when it comes to the time when Japan started to adopt Western culture during the Meiji Revolution, it's just a natural next step to use small katakanas to spell things they couldn't with regular kana, since they were already used for all sorts of things. So in summary, I think this is how it all happened. Katakanas were first thought of as markers since the beginning, while hiraganas were seen as real or proper kanas. And then katakanas started to get used in regular Japanese text, small katakanas, to mark things for convenience. Not all of these uses survive to this day, and neither were they used in old texts, by the way. And when it comes to the Meiji Revolution, it was natural for people to use small kanas for foreign languages. As we have seen, its usage was also highly regular. Gradually, they got replaced by IPA, since that's just a better system for writing down sounds. And last, we have the language reform in 1946, which solidified the place of small kanas for Yoon and Sokuon. There's probably a lot more to this story I haven't uncovered, and perhaps I've made some mistakes putting this all together, but this video has to end somewhere, so I hope you have fun watching it and learn something.